Hi. Hi. I am completely discombobulated at the moment. How's everybody doing? Today was one of those days where everything was fine, everything was in order, everything was going along the way it should, and then, you know, don't mind me, I'm making sure things are taken care of. And that when you have that moment and everything is fine, and then it's like all of a sudden, what should have only taken 2 minutes then took 10. Yeah, welcome to my evening. I got timestamps. I was organized. Have I done any of the timestamps on my own shows? No, not yet. I'll get there. I promise I will get there for Replay Crew because you guys are the best. And I appreciate your patience with me. I got behind and now I have like this will be, I think, 4 shows that I have to do, and in order to do them, I have to watch myself, which is fine-ish, but I also I choose to watch myself at 1.5 or 2 speed, and I already sound like a chipmunk most of the time, so whee! Okay. All right. And we have a lot of court to catch up on. I am going to summarize some of what we missed. And, because I haven't done the timestamps and stuff, I might say some things that have already been said. And I apologize. Um, it is what it is. You know, we gather here, we get together, we hang out, we chat. Um, and, sometimes I am in the zone, and other days it takes a little while. Or, you know what? We're just going to blame the full moon. It was a flower moon last night, full moon. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I don't know if you're like me. I like getting pictures of the moon. Um, so it was a beautiful moon, beautiful night. I hope spring weather is finding you wherever you are. And hopefully, you're getting a little sunshine and some warm breezes and all of that. So as you come on in tonight, let me know where you're coming in from and what you poured into your cuppa this evening because for me, it is rosé season. So, and honestly, for we're mostly going to focus on Bukhenik tonight, and for all of that, yeah, yeah, sipping on a little wine is what is needed. Sipping on a little wine, having a screaming goat. Oh, I still need to get another battery for my little goat. Um, Oh, buffering in real time. How about this? How about as I say welcome, let me know what you're sipping on, where you're coming in from, all of those lovely things. If you are enjoying the spring weather, I'm going to go ahead and roll the intro and we will get into it. I had something else and it's gone. Oh, right. If you like the commentary over here, if you like the things that I have to say, on this channel, we cover politics, pop culture, and court. And honestly, the Karen Reed trial seems to encompass all of that, which is very odd to me. And I haven't quite figured out how that all plays in because I am just watching for the legal of it all. But yeah, yeah, so if you like those things and, um, you are my kind of person, i.e. facts are friends and we respect each other and we don't name call or dox or anything like that because it's just rude and gross and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. So we're not gonna do any of that. That's probably gonna be a side tangent because it's in the back of my brain and I have barely written notes for tonight. So that's that. Let me go ahead and roll the intro and we'll get right into it. If I have to find the intro though.
Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about politics, pop culture, and courts, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go.
Now, for all the things I said about being nice and all that, I definitely, everybody grab your soapbox because, oh, I have some thoughts on all of this. Um, we have an awful lot of timestamps for what we are covering. But before I get into that, I should stop. Aurora, stop. Nobody who hangs out with you necessarily knows what happened in trial. All right, I'm going to paraphrase. And now, when I say no name calling, there are certain things that I feel slip under the radar, or they are earned. They're more of a nickname, like Lieutenant Gallagher of the Canton Police Department. That I believe it was EDB's chat. Yeah, I think she was the one that said Lieutenant Leaf Blower because he's the one who thought it was a good idea to use a leaf blower in the spot where John O'Keefe's body was supposedly found. Although at this point in trial, you know what we've learned? That it seems no one except for Jen McCabe, Carrie Roberts, Karen Reed, and the first responders actually know where John was found on the lawn of 34 Fairview. Everybody heard it from somebody else who heard it from somebody else. I have it it I if you like things or expect things to be done in a particular way, if you watched CSI, and I'm not saying CSI is a great representation of what those people do because, well, what they do is far more nuanced than can be done in a 45-minute show. Um, you even understand the, importance of things like chain of custody and evidence logs and stuff like that. Hell, when I worked campus security way back in the day, 20, how old, 20, wait, I'm doing math in my head and it's calendar math, which is different than the math I usually do. Calendar math is hard for me. It was over 20 years ago because I'm older than I think I look. No, it was over 20 years ago. I worked campus security, and this was a campus security job that was unique in how it functioned. We worked with a lot of cops. We had to deal with a lot of cops. It was a teeny little podunk college in the middle of nowhere, and student security officers. We weren't we weren't into law enforcement or anything like that. The full-time security officers that were the adults, and I use that in quotation because age is sometimes a number. Um, they were all of them, I think, former military. So there were rules that we all had to abide by. And one of the things about the security team, I know this is totally off topic, but this security team, we regarded ourselves as being the laziest security, campus security on the face of the planet. Because if we had to do much of anything, if we had to bust you for, you know, smoking pot or something like that, that required us filling out affidavits and contacting the local sheriffs and filling out more paperwork than you can possibly imagine. And this was 20 years ago from a bunch of college students who were doing this as like a work study job. Not even a work study job. It was just a campus job. Um so just fair warning, everything about this investigation that has come out in either trial 1 or trial 2 hurts my brain, because if I had to do that 20 years ago on this campus where, honest to goodness, literally nobody cared unless somebody was in danger, um, then I feel like a suburb of Boston should do at least as well as we did with chain of custody and all of that. Did they? No. Okay, so with that, we had 3 days. So we saw Lieutenant Gallagher, who had the bright idea to use a leaf blower to try and excavate some of the snow. I did not find that timestamp. If you want it with my kind of commentary, Emily D. Baker, go find that day in trial. All of her, she's got an amazing team, so all her stuff is timestamped. You can just click right to where you want to go to where Lieutenant Leafblower is and see that. He's also the guy who, instead of driving or calling someone at the Canton PD a mile and a half away to get proper equipment, is the guy who put evidence from this blood evidence, we assume, that was in the snow, not in any sort of a proper container. No, no, he put them in red Solo cups, and then put those red Solo cups in a Stop and Shop bag. And that was a whole go round on Cross where Alan Jackson was like, "Is that like best practice?" Well, I don't see what the difference is, I'm paraphrasing, between an evidence bag and a Stop and Shop bag other than writing on it. My goat needs new batteries. Um, sure, my dude, sure. And then we may have already covered the expert witness who talked about the 227 Hoslong to dying cold. I might be repeating myself here. Anyway, she seems really knowledgeable. It also seems like, unless you already have an interest in the subject, you're not going to understand how she's describing things. So, she seems like I would be interested to ask her a bunch of questions, but she also seemed very like, I am here for the prosecution. And it irks me when experts are like, I am here for a side. Because it doesn't read quite right. It's much better when you see, for me, it reads better to me when an expert comes in and was like, I don't really give a flying flap doodle who called me. This is what the facts and the science tell me is in my field of expertise. Like, I like those experts better. I mean, the Murdoch trial with the dude who was throwing the phone around the office. That doesn't. Now we've had phones thrown around the office. We've had phones placed in freezers. That would be Ian Whiffen. It's just been a whole thing. So then we had, oh, yay, yay. Hi, squirrel moment. I'll run the bumper in a minute. Um, I'll run the bumper in a minute. What just happened is that my amazing mama, who is also a mod, who you will see in chat, came in to deliver a much needed ice pack to me for my belly, where my stitches, well, my healing wounds from my surgery are. So, everything is good. Everything is fine. Healing is going great. But Lord, when you start to heal, there is a level of itch. The only thing that matches this level of itch is when a tattoo starts to heal, and yeah, if you have tattoos, you understand. If you don't have tattoos, you may never understand, and that is fine. So yeah, that is so that was that. With that, let me go ahead and do this. Is it gonna be that kind of a night? Yes. Yes, it is. But you know what? We're gonna get through it. We're gonna have fun. It'll be great. Squirrel. Yep, that's what just happened. Okay. But you know what? That's okay because that happened and now now we can get to my highlight reel. So let us move on to Sergeant Bukhenik. No, I will not use the nickname. I don't like the nickname. I'm not going to do that. There's I can strongly dislike how this man presented um and presented a lot of the evidence and how he testified. And I also don't have to the nickname is harsher. It's not I mean, Lieutenant Leaf Blower, like, dude, you earned that name. You earned that name. And I do understand that you are actually Lieutenant Gallagher, and that is fine. But it's also really fun to say, and it's not like super crude. So that Trooper B's, Sergeant B's nickname, I will not repeat here. It's not okay by my standards. And if I see it in the chat, I will toss the chat most likely because I don't like it. And it's not that I don't like it's just I feel like this guy gives us a lot of opportunities for some nicknames that are more equivalent to the respect that he brings to the situation. The nickname that circulates around the internet goes just a step too far for me. So no. Oh, while we're here and before we jump back in time, I did do a little research. We understand there was no court today. It does seem like someone was ill, and truly the two people who are most likely to for that to be in order for court not to continue is either Karen Reed, and it seems like that is the case, or the judge, and it seems like that is not the case. So here's what I'm going to say on that. Speculation is pure speculation. Um, we saw nothing other than just that come out of the court. So we're going to hope that it is short lived. We do understand from the testimony in trial that Karen Reed has certain chronic things that can flare up. I am going to take a little side note here to say that in some of the chats I hang out in that are usually very respectful, we have reached that point in trial. And this was a thing where I saw a whole lot of folks in the chat that were being incredibly disparaging of life of Karen Reid, just in general. Especially when it comes to the two health things that she seems that I've heard reports that she has. Those two being Crohn's and MS. Those both, as I have I one of my roommates that I one of my roommates from way, way back in the day had Crohn's. It can be real nasty when it flares up, and there is a lot of stress going on for everybody involved. So what we are simply going to do as a chat here, I'm going to get all like on my soapbox and all that. But here's the thing. We are going to wish whoever was ill a speedy recovery. We are going to hope that it was a short-lived issue and that everybody is okay because I don't really care where you fall on the side of evidence. We are all human and we can all have compassion and empathy for everybody. It's the same reason why, as much as in my head I think certain things, and to my friends I might say certain things about Sergeant Bukhenik, I will not repeat them here. Now, do I think that he should have gotten a whole lot more than a 5-day suspension? Uh-huh. I'm going to let him do his own talking tonight, and we are going to chat about that a little bit. So that is a very long intro for a whole lot of things. Let me go ahead and swoop, and then I will come up and I will find my first timestamp and we will get started. We're going to hop in the Wayback Machine and go back to Trooper Buchanan. I am maybe going to always call him Trooper Buchanan and not Sergeant Buchanan. But yeah, we're getting the Wayback Machine and go back to his first day on the stand. First day of three. 3 days on the stand. Why? Because it seems like they're not going to call Michael Proctor. All right, swoop, that, go. Okay, so let me. Oh, I need to share my screen. Okay, I am going to skip over direct examination because, well, I'm trying to zoom through this as best as I can, and I can't do that if we go over his direct. And from what I am seeing and what I'm seeing in my messages and all of that, we're all more interested in cross anyway. So on direct, it is very much Hank Brennan asks question. Trooper B gives answer. Hank Brennan asks question. Trooper B gives answer. Question, answer, question, answer. All of a sudden we get to cross and the man's memory, Trooper B's memory, suddenly just vanishes into thin air, like so many of the Commonwealth witnesses. If one or two do it, it's one thing. When they all do it, I don't personally feel like the truth is what you're aiming for, because it just gets weird at a certain point. So let me hop in here. Oh, okay. Sorry. I looked over and I saw my dog and she wasn't on the bed. She was standing up and I was very confused for a moment. She's fine. Okay. Let me find my timestamp. This is where sometimes, oh, this is the wrong day, isn't it? Is that the wrong day? Hang on, guys. I think I goofed. This is where I need something that I can play. That is there. There we go. Is that the right? I thought I. Don't mind me. I'm just, you know. Is this it? Let me see. Oh, it is spring, and all of a sudden my eyes got very itchy. Okay. Hi. What is it EDV always says? Streaming is dynamic. Yes, indeed it is. This is more cross. Where are we at? All right. Hang on. I think I might have it. I need music or something. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be with you in a minute. I am just getting to the right spot. Almost there. I know. Dead air. Dead air is never fun. Okay. What we are going to do here is I'm going to pull this up. Your screen. Oh, no. Go full. There we go. This one. Share. There we are. And I think I might need to be in this corner, actually. I think I need to be in this corner for this one. This one? Nah. I can do that one. All right, let's see. Let's see how well I did. This is day 1. This is the start of cross-examination. And we're going to take a look at a couple of highlights from here. Most of the timestamps came in day 2 and day 3 of cross and recross. So I don't know how many of these timestamps we're going to get to since I was yappity yapping earlier tonight, but you know, that's why you tune in. Cause I'm a talker. All right. This has no volume. Okay. Well, Hmm. Hmm. Does it have volume for you guys? Does it just not have volume for me? What are we doing here? Nope. All right. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Streaming is dynamic. If this doesn't work, you know what? We're just gonna... Oh my goodness. Hey, Mom, if you're watching, would you please apologize to Dad for me? Dad's headphones. Dad's headphones were connected. Whoopsie doodle. Let's try this again. I thought I fixed this earlier. Let's try this again. There we go. I'm sorry, guys. I am so sorry. I'm gonna let Alan Jackson get started, and I am gonna text the house. Cause whoops.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant Bukhenik.
Good afternoon, sir.
I want to talk to you for a second about roles in this case, in this investigation. Would you agree with me that Michael Proctor was the lead investigator as well as the case agent in charge of this case?
He was assigned as the case officer for the case.
In that position, given the fact that it was his assignment, would you agree with me that he had a leadership role insofar as the investigation of the case was concerned?
I wouldn't call it a leadership role. It's more of a facilitator, liaison between the DA's personnel within the office and the state police. He also helps facilitate any missions, outstanding tasks that need to be completed.
I gotta speed them up, guys.
Correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
He obviously had a supervisor, correct?
He did, yes, that would be myself.
That would be you.
Yes.
Every case has some lead trooper in your unit, correct? Every case is assigned to someone to sort of be in charge and lead the charge of the investigation. Is that right?
Every case has a case officer that manages the investigation.
Right. And managing the investigation doesn't mean...
This is where I'm going to skip ahead to my next timestamp because it takes them almost this long to get to the answer because, yeah. Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator, but it seems that the prosecution doesn't want to call him because he kind of got fired for how he handled this case. So, speaking of that, let's listen to Alan Jackson go, "Ya done?"
Group putting their heads together and deciding on that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the most
Let's try it again.
accurate explanation.
Okay. You done?
I am.
Okay. let's try that again. You want to make sure that the evidence, as a supervisor, supervising your subordinates, you want to make sure that the evidence is gathered in an appropriate way, in an objective way, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You're also doing everything you can as a supervisor and someone with the experience to make sure that the highest levels of integrity and those demands are met in any investigation that you work on.
If there was a question of integrity, those individuals would not be part of an investigation.
That includes knowing, obviously, what your subordinates are doing.
During the conduct of the investigation, during the process of us investigating a crime, yes, we know what is going on, because every bit of information that comes in needs to be shared, and we need to make sure the whole team is aware of all the evidence and information that is available to us at the time.
You want to make
Do
sure
you,
that,
though?
I'm going to use a colloquial phrase, you keep tabs on those who are reporting to you, correct? What are they doing? What are they engaged in? When are they coming and going? Who are they interviewing? Things of that nature. Basic investigative things, correct?
For the most part, you can't track every single person all the time, but this is a very serious line of work. A lot depends on it. We speak for those that can no longer speak for themselves. So we do our best to conduct every investigation with integrity, honor, and get to the truth.
If you don't properly supervise, and I'm talking about your role now as a supervisor.
Integrity, honor, and get to the truth. You know what's interesting? I do not have it in my highlight reel here, but there does come a point where he will not say that Trooper Proctor, former Trooper Proctor, conducted this investigation with honor. He somehow thinks that integrity was involved. If you missed the text messages, I'm not replaying them on here because, well, Proctor had no issue with the R word. And I don't want to bring that up. So, yeah, no. No. Okay. Let us.
Supervisor, if you don't properly engage in that supervision, it obviously
I'll give it a
increases
little
chances
longer.
for mistakes. It increases chances
Yeah.
for bias to seep in. It increases chances that something could affect the adequacy of the investigation, correct?
Yep.
That's a lot there. Can you repeat that, please? Maybe one section at a time?
Sure. If you don't properly supervise your subordinates in an investigation, failing to properly supervise them could increase the chances that mistakes are made. Isn't that right? That's why
Yes, that is one possibility.
Okay. Let's break it down. It also increases chances that there could be.
Okay, we do this for a while. This is why I got the highlights, because it was 3 days of this when he was talking with Jackson. All right. Let us zoom ahead. I'm trying to zoom through some of these moments as quickly as I can because, well, we might be here for 2 hours, but I'm going to try not to be here for 2 hours because, we want to enjoy the evening. But I make no promises. We're just going to be here and hang out with each other. That's what we're going to do. All right. Close enough. He's gone back and forth, and we've finally gotten to, well, I don't think Trooper Proctor really was the lead. That's
Sergeant Bukhenik,
51%.
I handed you a binder, and it's tabs just for your convenience so we can.
Hang on. I'm gonna move the captions for a second here. Note how big that binder is. Just how big that binder is. Imagine if you're sitting on the jury and the defense walks up with this binder and it's like, okay, Trooper Proctor wasn't a big part of the investigation. Here you
I don't
go.
have to walk back and forth. With
Thanks,
court's
sir.
permission.
Yes.
Can you open tab 1? I'm not going to ask you to read the entire search warrant, but is that a search warrant that ends in 07?
Yes, it is.
And it's for generally Verizon records for Miss Reed's cell phone.
And he's reading it. This took forever.
No, I would not agree with you, sir.
What is that search warrant for?
It's for Verizon records for a VIN number, which looks like a vehicle.
Is that the vehicle, the SUV, the Lexus SUV in this case?
I want
I
to see
do
that
not
paper,
know for
but-
sure because it doesn't have that identifier here, and I don't know the VIN number off the top of my head.
Okay, fair enough. Who's the Afghan?
then he's gonna flip all the way through as though he's never seen these before, even though I'm sure he has.
Michael Proctor.
Can you turn to tab 2?
So that's tab 1. Then we do 2, 3, 4. He keeps going. I can't remember where he stopped. At 11, I think it might have been. It took forever. Anyway, we're going to zoom past all that because, yeah, at the end of it, it's like every single name at the end of one of those pages. Michael Proctor, Michael Proctor, Michael Proctor. But don't worry, they worked as a team. Sure. Okay, and only one member of that team got fired. All right, now we are going to skip ahead to, again, this is the highlight reel of day 1. This is the highlight reel of day 1.
You'll often work with a local police agency, police department, even though Massachusetts State Police may have statutory jurisdiction over the case because it's a homicide, right?
Yes, part of our mission is to aid and assist local police departments when they request it. In this specific situation, as I stated earlier, the DA's office has exclusive jurisdiction over death investigations, and our office has that responsibility of investigating those cases. But we work very well with local departments.
So the answer to that question is yes, correct?
Yes.
If you can answer my question yes or no, this will go a lot faster. In this case, even though you often...
It will go a lot faster. It will go a lot faster for him. He's on cross-examination. If you watch a lot of trials, here's how it goes. On direct examination, you're there for the prosecution or the defense. You're there for whatever group called you. And they are typically going to ask you open-ended questions. And they're going to go with open-ended questions. And you get all the room to explain. And when it comes to cross-examination, usually the defense attorneys are going to ask you yes or no questions because they don't want to give you room to explain. It doesn't help them to give you room to explain. So, I'm going to let this play through a little bit.
work with local law enforcement agencies. It was determined that you would not continue working with Canton PD because of a conflict or the perception of a potential conflict of interest, correct?
To alleviate any perception, not that one existed, the Canton Police Department recused themselves from being involved in the interview portion of the investigation.
And that's in no small part because the lawn on which Mr. O'Keefe was found belongs to to Brian Albert, and Kevin Albert, Brian Albert's brother, worked as a detective at Canton Police Department, correct?
That was my understanding why they chose to take those steps.
A loose familial connection.
Your first
brothers.
documented action in this case was to call the medical examiner's office. First documented action. Not the first thing you did, but the first thing that you documented that you did was to call the medical examiner's office at about 10:41 a.m., correct?
In what respect are you saying first documented action?
There's a report where we can look at the earliest thing that you did, and it's actually written down and documented. You know what I mean by documented? Written on a piece of paper.
In that respect of documentation, I would have to look into it. I believe there was something probably before that, since there was a documentation of us getting notified of the incident.
And I do
At
have him
10:41, let me just ask it
sped
a
up.
little bit more straightforward if I can. Just get to the point. At 10:41 a.m., you called the medical examiner's office to inform them that Mr. O'Keefe, quote, was struck in the face with a cocktail glass, or at least appeared to be, correct?
That is in part what I advised the medical examiner's office, where they are responsible for the medical portion of...
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach briefly?
Okay.
Okay. Canton PD recusal. Then they come back from sidebar. I'm looking. Oh, yes. Wait.
in the morning of January 29th.
Hang on. I'm going to let him do
Yeah,
the
just
whole
hold me on.
question. They are back from sidebar. And this is one of those moments that I personally find very
Did you
funny.
contact the medical examiner's office in the morning of January 29th,
Not this particular moment,
2022?
Yes.
And did you state to them that there was a possibility that the decedent, John O'Keefe, was struck in the face with a cocktail glass?
I don't recall my words exactly, but that sounds accurate to what I might have said.
Keep in mind, this man remembered all the things on direct.
At least your initial investigation during those early morning hours, those critical hours, led you to believe at least that there was a possibility that there was a physical altercation, correct?
Yes.
What steps did you take at that moment to determine whether or not anybody in the house may have been involved in that physical altercation that you thought was a possibility?
That's a compound question. I have to answer it separately.
Answer it however you want to. It's an open-ended question, which is unlike me. What steps did you take to, at that moment, to determine whether or not anybody in the house could have been involved in that possible physical altercation that you just described?
We interviewed the homeowner and 2 witnesses that were in that house.
You never went into the house, did you? On January 29th, at least.
I personally did not go in the house.
You did not secure that house or remove the occupants, did you?
Which day?
January 29th. I'm talking about the morning of January 29th.
I did not know.
No.
You did not secure the yard as a crime scene, correct?
That's correct.
You didn't conduct any search of that house.
The not securing the yard where you found him as any sort of a scene is part of the things that leads me to go, this is too weird. This is too weird. Okay. I think we're going to skip over the rest of day 1 because let's see. What else did we learn in day 1? I'm referring to my old-fashioned handwritten notes here. Let's see. We learned oh no. I got to give him this one more moment. Hang on. This is an important moment. No, we can there. Oh, look at me go. It's spot on. Now if I can just get to the play button.
All 3
There we go.
were either named McCabe or Albert. Those are the 3 people that you had information from, correct?
Which information? We had information for a lot of different sources at that point in time.
I'm talking about the first 3 interviews that you did, the first 3 civilian interviews you did that morning. Still on the same thing. You mentioned talking to 3 people at a residence in Canton. Brian Albert, Jim McCabe, Matt McCabe. All 3 were at 34 Fairview when they indicated John O'Keefe arrived in an SUV. They all told you that, right?
They were inside the home when the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe arrived in the SUV.
These are the very people.
But they said he arrived. The answer is yes.
If they were somehow involved, right?
Fair question.
Can you answer that, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor.
You're a professional investigator, correct?
That's correct.
Homicide investigator, right?
That's correct.
Many years of experience, right? Say yes?
I don't know what many means to you,
No,
but
of course not. Let me, how many years of experience do you have?
in homicide,
Fighting over
10 next week.
everything.
Does that sound like many?
I didn't answer the first time because I don't know what you would think many is.
Right. Suspects ever lied to you?
Yes,
Suspects lie to you all the time, don't they?
all the time is not accurate. They lie about certain things to create an alibi for themselves and state contradicting facts or fabricated stories.
Gee, what possible motive could anybody in that house have for doing exactly that if they were involved? I'm not saying they were involved. I'm saying if they were involved.
And if
All
someone
the
has,
time would mean that they're constantly lying about everything.
do you understand the colloquialism all the time?
I
Suspects.
do not know the term colloquialism.
Okay, let's try it a different way. If these 3 individuals were involved, in the death of John O'Keefe or knew others who were involved in the death of John O'Keefe, who they were close to, they would have a motive to lie about that, correct?
Objection.
The look on
But you
this
took these
man's
three
face
individuals
drives me
just at their word,
crazy.
based on those first 3 interviews, correct?
No, not correct.
You didn't go in the house. You didn't search the house. We've already talked about that, right?
I did not go into 34 Fairview. No, I did not.
You didn't ask them to come together at the station, correct?
That's correct. I did not ask them to come to the station.
As a matter of fact, when you went to
Also, none of these interviews are recorded on body cam, video, anywhere. You tell me. Somebody ends up on your lawn. You think the police are going to take you down to the station? Because I think that now,
interview Jennifer McCabe at her home, Brian Albert happened to be there, correct?
He was there, and I was able to conduct the interview at the house with Brian Albert. Yes.
Brian Albert at the McCabe's house.
Did you find that odd?
Absolutely not.
Totally normal for you to conduct a formal interview in a homicide case and have an extra person show up at the house just to be there?
Just to be there? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on, sir. If it's an attorney, it's one thing.
Cooperating witnesses always try and be assisting. So cooperating witnesses would assist us.
You just use the word always. You don't know what all the time means. But they always try to be assistant.
Well, they're cooperating. It's in the nature.
They always try to help you out.
So what makes a cooperating witness and what makes somebody who lies to you? Because this man doesn't seem to, like, I've watched this. This is probably the 5th, 6th time I've watched him say that, and I still can't put those puzzle pieces together in my head because what? What on what planet does this make sense that they're just helping you out?
Okay, maybe I misspoke. They are cooperating witnesses. So always is such a finite.
So clearly they're not
statement. I
lying because
apologize,
there are people and they're telling us a good story. That was probably unkind of me, but I'm trying to zoom. Okay. Now we need to skip ahead to day 2. And that's going to take me a minute. We've been here 48 minutes. Hey, if you're here and you're hanging out, do the likey and subscribey things. While I pull up no, hang on. Aurora. Hang on. Make myself bigger. There we go. Okay, dead air. I know. It's a thing. Full moon. We're just going to blame the full moon. All right. Now, because I have to go pull up day 2, it's going to take me a minute. We'll get there. I'm going to try and zoom as quick as I can through day 2 of Yuri Bukhenik on cross-examination. Oh, no. Shh. Down. No, we do not need to go through that. All right. I forgot. There is a large, so on day 2, he was on cross like all day. Like all day. All day on cross. We are not going to go through all of it. I have my highlight reel. I'm going to zoom as quick as I can through the highlight reel, and then we're going to get through the new evidence that came in on day 3 of his cross-examination and his testimony in general, because there is new evidence, the magic videos that supposedly didn't exist. Oh, I need to swoop. I need to swoop so that I know. All right, day 2. Day 2. All right, we are going to skip ahead ever so slightly. How quickly can I get through the highlight reel? Good question. Let's find out. It's a game. How quick can I do this and still make sense?
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, sir.
Yesterday, when we left off, we had been discussing one of the trips you made out to 34 Fairview, specifically on an occasion in which you met Chief Berkowitz. I want to ask you a couple of questions to follow up on those questions that I asked yesterday. Did Chief Berkowitz ever talk to you about his communications with Brian Albert and or Brian Higgins, either at that time or afterward?
Objection.
Did you learn that Chief Berkowitz had communicated one way or the other without telling me anything that they said? Did you learn whether or not Chief Berkowitz had communicated with Brian Higgins?
No.
Did you learn that Chief Berkowitz had
Look,
communicated
you can
with
use
Brian
a simple
Albert?
answer.
And I'm talking about in the
Oh.
days before you were at 34 Fairview, which was February 4th, from the 29th to February 4th.
No.
You returned to the scene, you indicated on direct examination, on or about February 10th, 2022, to conduct yet another search, correct?
Yes.
And on that particular occasion, you recovered some 6 pieces of red and or clear and or black plastic. Is that how you testified?
There was numerous pieces. The exact number, I don't know. You'd have to refresh my memory with a report.
Okay. There was
Okay, I know there was a reason that I wanted to start on there. Probably the nothing was documented. Because, yeah, fun fact, they didn't document what they found, when they found it, all of that. It was, I've written affidavits for incident reports at work where nobody cares that were more detailed than literally any way they documented collection of evidence at any point in this case, which is an issue. But then we're going to skip ahead to one of those moments where I'm like, do you not hear yourself, sir? We have theories, and then 47 seconds later, he doesn't.
And then we corroborated through evidence.
and of course, you make assumptions based on those suggestions, correct? Yes or no?
We have theories.
We have
Another
theories.
term for a theory is an assumption or presumption, correct?
I guess in some respect you can say that,
Okay.
but
So the
I'm
answer is
not
yes.
I'm not going to argue about semantics here.
Well, you'll agree that words matter, right? I mean, you're testifying, so words do matter.
Words do matter. That's that's important.
So working off of your, as you put it, your theory, you theorized that there was an impact spot at 34 Fairview, correct?
Based on the statement I hit him, I assumed that Mr. O'Keefe was impacted with something. Initial hours of the investigation, we had those statements, I hit him. We had the statements that, oh my God, did I hit him? So utilizing that information with the evidence at that point that we had was a broken cocktail glass. So a theory would be, why is the cocktail glass broken? Because it came into contact with the victim. So that's why my information communicated to the ME's office was a possible domestic involving a glass strike to the victim. As a result, we had to go and see the victim's body and the injuries. So Mr. O'Keefe's injuries presented a certain way, and we learned more information. So the more information that comes in, the more information that we are able to corroborate statements and collect evidence that further corroborates other information is helpful in the investigation. That's how investigations develop. If we knew everything we knew from day one, it wouldn't be a process of developing investigation.
So the answer to my question, Sergeant, is you were working off of a theory, correct? Yes or no?
We were working off a report of an injured male party, and then we
Oh, for
developed
heaven's sake,
the information,
sir, you're
collected the
exhausting.
evidence,
I
and
even at
developed the investigation.
1.25 speed.
I'm sorry, English is like a third language for me.
I
Information, collected
talked
the
over the
evidence,
moment.
and developed the investigation.
Do you know what the word theory means?
I'm sorry, English is like a third language for me. So if you can bring up the Webster's dictionary, I can read it out.
You want me to pull up the Webster's dictionary?
I respect that you speak 3 languages My dude, and yeah, I'm gonna call you my dude because that's about as kind as I can get for you right now. But you just as Jackson goes into, you literally just used the word theory 47 seconds ago when he asked, "Do you know what the word theory means?" It's a fair question if you won't answer his questions and then you keep dodging the word theory. I just, I, whew, sir, these officers make me angry because honestly, I don't, it's not even about the town. It's, I, it, it baffles my mind being a, like, I know this is more common than I want it to be, but really? Really? You want me to respect you and the role that you have, and you're gonna bring this in there and be like, "Well, I don't know what theory is," even though I used it 47 seconds ago, not even. Jackson was being kind. Okay, what is my next? I'm reading through my notes. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm gonna read through some of my notes because we've been here for a while. So Dad has entered the chat. He only speaks one. It was a reverse put down. Yeah, yeah. I mean, what is wild, if you go back, I do recommend if you are following this trial and you are only watching highlights or recaps, I do recommend that you go back and you watch this guy's entire testimony. Watch it if you were a juror because there are so many moments with him that I don't think read well to the jury, and they read to me as being smug AF and like, nobody's got anything on me. Like, remember when I was talking earlier on stream about that campus security job? The number of times that somebody would be like, "We should get you," and we would look at them and be like, "Who's going to write me up? Me? I'm the only one on duty." Now, there were disciplinary actions that people could go, and we were honestly a bunch of mostly goody two shoes working campus security. But yeah, I like we were honest. But yeah, the number of times that we would like, "Who's gonna write me up, me?" That's one thing when you're, 19 working a job like that. This dude's a sergeant and has been in homicide for 10 years. Come on, bro. Trust me, bro, is not good investigation work. It's just not. Okay, let's see. No, we don't need to watch some of this. We don't need to watch them go back and forth on the evidence bag. Spoiler alert. Him and Proctor, Trooper B and Proctor, took John O'Keefe's clothes that he was wearing that were at the hospital, put them all together, soaking wet, in one evidence bag. At least this one was a proper evidence bag that was brought from the lab. And then they brought it back to the station. And then they laid it, oh, dad's telling me to embiggen. And then they laid it out on butcher paper. They laid wet clothes out on butcher paper. If any of y'all have worked in a deli or at a butcher shop or, done grocery shopping, what doesn't happen on butcher paper? Airflow all around the clothes. So, yeah, they laid the sopping wet clothes. Oh, I missed a key piece of evidence. Trooper Proctor, former Trooper Proctor, and Sergeant B together dropped all of John O'Keefe's clothing into one large evidence bag, not separate bags, one singular large evidence bag. Then they tossed it in the back of Bukhenik's personal vehicle because, according to him, his cruiser wouldn't make it through the snow, which I personally call BS. Because I live in Maine and snow tires and stuff exist, and trust me, the cops know how to drive in the snow. But no, he was taking his personal vehicle, and so the evidence bag, without a lot of information on it and zero chain of custody, goes in the back of his truck, according to his own testimony, and then they get it back to Canton PD. They lay it out on butcher paper, which is the exact opposite kind of paper that you want to lay evidence out on if your intent is to dry it quickly. Because butcher paper specific, now he might be misstating the facts. It might not have been butcher paper. But given everything else, I think it probably was butcher paper, which is probably why it took 6 days for the clothes to dry. And while the clothes were drying, anyone with a key card that got into that room, it wasn't a sealed evidence room. It wasn't locked off. Literally anyone with access could have gotten into that room. Now, I'm not saying they did, but I'm saying I trust all of these folks about as far as I can throw them, and I don't throw well. So that. Okay. Then we're going to skip ahead to, oh no, I'm going to give a lot of the highlight on here. Then they go back and forth for, again, ever on taillight pieces, when they were found, when they were picked up, when they were documented. And we get to, no, I just read the comment that I wanted. Yeah. Oh, right. Then we find out for the first time, this was not evidence in trial 1. We find out for the first time that all of the evidence, or a whole lot of the evidence, that Sergeant B found and former Trooper Proctor found, didn't get logged into the evidence room. It didn't get sent to the crime lab, where a chain of custody magically begins, until March 14th. Now, calendar math is hard for me, but January 29th and March 14th is a very large gap for evidence getting to a crime lab. Big, big gap. I know the pieces were supposedly found in February when they were just waiting on rainstorms and driving by the property and picking stuff up. But yeah, the incident January 29th, booked into crime lab March 14th, and evidence found like between February 3rd and February 10th or 11th. Really? Okay. Okay, now we're going to skip, and we are going to skip, oh, right, the Higgins texts. They made Sergeant B, read all of the Higgins texts. Now, what are the Higgins texts? Because my folks just have to listen to me talk about this on court breaks and stuff. Okay. At some point, Karen Reed reached out to Brian Higgins and started it was basically a, hey, I have a below the belt itch that I'm looking to scratch, and you seem like somebody who could scratch it because John's pissing me off. I am paraphrasing, but that. What then ensues is days of, I know teenagers who are more forward and more upfront than this. How did Runkle put it? Karen Reed is pretty clear about what she wants. She's not overt about it, but she's pretty clear about what she's looking for, and Higgins pretty quickly jumps from, oh, that'd be fun, to, but I need to know if you're going to be the girl, my girl. Like, I'll steal my buddy's girl, but only if I know that you'll stick to me. And then she ghosts him on January 23rd. And then he texted her while they were all together. Higgins texted Karen while they were all together at the Waterfall. Waterfall? McCarthy's? One of them. One of the bars. When they were all together. And I think actually on one of the videos, you see Karen pull out her phone, look at it, and put it back in her pocket. And she's basically ignoring Higgins all night. So I think that what happened is she was like, whoa, this dude is too much. John and I have had some real conversations. Things have fixed. This is me speculating. And I don't want to deal with this guy anymore. And Higgins didn't seem to take that real well. He didn't seem to take it poorly, but it's kind of hard to tell. I am not going to make any of you sit through any of those text messages. If you watched it once is plenty. I skipped over round 2. Although this time they at least had all the pictures in, which made it easier and made some text about Tom Brady make much more sense. Okay. Then, but before we get to the actual reading of the Higgins texts, this is one of those moments where this is not how Trooper B thought this was gonna go. It wasn't how the judge thought it was gonna go. And it made me laugh quite a bit when I watched it. So I will pull it back up in just a minute. I'm just getting my timestamp here. Oh, I'm so close. I am so close. But if you're just listening and you're not actually watching, now is a time to set down what you were doing, because if you were like me and you're keeping your hands busy, now is a time to set it down, because you're gonna want to see this man's face when Jackson brings up the printed out text messages and says, you're gonna read these out loud to the jury.
You mark this
For identification only.
The EE for identification.
You're certainly not asking him to read this whole document.
I expect to.
I'm going to see counsel.
I'm gonna wind that back. I'm gonna wind that back for just one moment. Watch Bukhenik smirk when the judge says you don't expect him to read all of this. And then watch his face fall when Jackson says, oh, I expect to. It is just, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Identification.
You're certainly not asking him to read this whole document.
Smirk.
Expect to.
I expect to. And that face. That is the face. And that, oh, wait, I need to move me. I need to move me. Look in the corner I was just in and how thick that set of text messages is. How thick that is. And this man is just being asked to read them all out loud, as dry as possible on the stand. If he hadn't already spent a day and a half making me mad, I'd feel bad for him. Okay, moving on. It was a moment. Okay, let's see. finally done with text. Oh, no, this is a moment you need to see. This is new testimony, and it's gives Brennan a lot to try and fix, by my mind, on redirect here. All right. 509. There we go. Pretty much.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Charlie, you had an opportunity, obviously, you read them, so now you familiarize yourself with that series of text messages that you received from Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Would you, I'm going to ask you the same question again. Would you consider those text messages as you reviewed them when you received them from Brian Higgins as being flirtatious or romantic in nature?
I would not categorize them to that extent. Certain parts of it might be, but the total conversation, if you want my opinion, I can provide you with it.
Was there some flirtation in the text messages that you noted?
There are terms that I used. You're hot, witty, stuff like that. You know, talking about banging and hooking up.
What word would you use to describe them if not flirtatious?
The totality of the conversation?
Sure. Let's start there.
My opinion is that it's a angry girlfriend trying to set up a hookup to hurt John.
That's a far cry. That's a stretch, my dude. That is a stretch. That is okay. I realize you're not a woman, my dude, but that was very clearly she was bored, she was feeling lonely, she was probably feeling rejected, and guys like Higgins, you can tell. You can tell when they dig ya. And for a more straightforward lady, there is kind of nothing more fun than calling their bluff, as it were. And that's kind of what this was. I don't know. We make assumptions about Karen and John's relationship. We assume it was monogamous, but all testimony on all sides has indicated that it probably wasn't. So I'm not going to hold this above her. This is a sleep. An angry girlfriend trying to set up. There is a lot of planning in that, trust me, is not in those text messages. All right. I'll let him keep going while I look.
To hurt John.
To hurt John.
Yeah.
Would you consider the responses from Brian Higgins to be flirtatious in nature?
There are conversation parts that are enticing, maybe a little of advances, but the totality of, to put a label on the whole thing, my opinion is that she's trying to get revenge.
It's a good thing most of y'all are married already, because you wouldn't be able to catch a new one. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. It's wild to me. Okay. Skipping ahead now. Let's see. We have some new evidence that Higgins called Brian Albert. We'd heard about that before, but everybody called that a butt dial. But don't worry. The prosecution found video between the trials that for trial 1 they claimed didn't exist. That comes in on the next day. I'm looking through. Let's see. What other highlights do we have here? Oh, for those of you wanting to know about Chloe, I will embiggen because I'm going to skip over the rest of this day. I don't think. Oh, no, we have one more moment to cover, but because it's glorious. But we found some new information about Chloe that apparently now is going by Cora, which I do think renaming the dog for her new home was probably wise. As somebody with my lovely lady in the house, my lovely hound dog, we do not say her former shelter name in this house because it will send this little doggo into a panic attack. So given how folks have described Chloe, so far in both trials, I think she's probably better off where she is. Here's the problem. They don't have transfer records of Chloe to the new owner, and the Alberts did not directly rehome her. The Alberts went through a third party, because that's not weird at all. And it wasn't a shelter. No, it was. So, do we even know if this is Chloe? No. No, we don't. We don't. We still don't have proof of life of Chloe. Do I still want it? I do. Oh, we also got some new evidence after that there were 3 folks who pulled in behind Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. Ricky Dentano, Heather Maxon, and I can't remember the other one. Because I didn't write the name down, and I am so sorry I can't remember the other name. Anyway, they've all testified in both trials. They've all testified that they did not see John literally anywhere, including in the vehicle. So, and none of the 3 of them went into the house. This is all 3 of them have the same testimony. They spoke, the police officers, we learned, spoke with only the driver of the vehicle, not the 2 passengers of this vehicle. At least in February, when they learned they existed, they spoke to only the driver. They never reached out to the other 2 occupants of the car until September of 2023. The incident happened January 29th, 2022. September of 2023 is when the police finally thought maybe we'll ask them a couple questions. Yeah. So with that, let us go to one of those classic Alan Jackson moments that just gives us all the giggles, especially when you're exhausted with a particular witness. Okay, where is it?
Yeah, these are eyewitnesses. Let's get them there.
Yes, it is important to interview anyone that's an eyewitness. Sometimes it takes longer because are you listening? I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You asked the question. I just wanted to answer.
I know the answers to my questions. Go ahead.
Okay.
That is the most. Yep. He wasn't in the battle of who's going to win this argument. Yeah, I'm going to give that one to Jackson. And somebody laughed. I don't know if that somebody was on the jury or not. That could go both ways, but are you listening? Yeah, I usually know the answers to my own questions. Oh, he's listening to you, sir. He just also knows what you're going to say before you do, because it's kind of his job. So now, I'm going to embiggen me, and we are going to... See, I knew this was going to be long. I tried to zoom. I'm trying to zoom even more. But what we need to do now is I need to find the timestamps for the new evidence. The new evidence. Like the evidence none of us... Not in pretrial motions. None of it. This is all like magic video that just reappeared at some point between trials. Okay. Yes.
I have a specific memory, but I know.
Sorry, guys. Okay. That's where I stopped trying to get timestamps. Was there? Okay. So, day 3. The highlights that I wrote down were and things that we are not necessarily going to cover, and I'm going to jump right to the videos. But the other thing that got covered is there are text messages back and forth between the Proctors and the was it Chris and Julie Albert, I think, about we'd like to get you a gift for all the things you're doing for our family. And Michael, former Trooper Proctor, was like, hey, if you're going to get a gift, get my wife one. Subtext, because I can't accept them. And we're only halfway done. Okay. But now I am going to skip ahead to. Oh, we also had Bukhenik testify a little bit about the John O'Keefe's arm and that it was from tail light glass, which, yeah, maybe if the tail light is really a transformer and also has teeth and also takes all the evidence when the teeth disappear. It's just it's a stretch to call it a hit from a tail light, given there's no bruising and things like that. But again, we went down that rabbit hole for a while. But now, let me go ahead and pull this. I'm going to drop myself down here and do this. Make sure the captions are on. Oh, I'm like 2 minutes behind. Okay. This is pretty much where we want to be. There we are. New evidence. If you watched trial 1, you didn't see this. If you didn't watch trial 1, this is also very new. Hang on. I need to find where to put myself. We're going to try that. No. I feel like I need to be even smaller. Hang on. There we go. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm just not going to argue with StreamYard at the moment. All right, let's hit play. No, play. I'll let Jackson.
And this is, Your Honor, just for the record, actually, let me do it this way. Sergeant, would you agree that we can call this the rear lot main side at Canton PD, just for identification purposes?
Sure, if you'd like. I don't know which side this is, so I can't argue with you about the location. So
Okay.
I'll agree with you that we can call it that.
Great. It looks like a parking lot, this part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just for purposes of, so it doesn't get complicated, we'll call this rear lot main side. That doesn't mean anything unless you adopt it. So just for identification purposes.
Thank you.
If we could move to runtime 1:26:32. Okay.
I do have this sped up a little bit. This is interesting because in trial 1, this was discussed, although there was no video in trial 1 after Brian Higgins had testified. I will not give you his testimony because the jury doesn't have his testimony yet.
With course permission, may I play it at this point?
Okay.
Thank you.
This is at Canton PD.
Stop. Did you see a car pass in front?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of car did that look like to you?
It looked like a 2-door Jeep Wrangler with a plow on it.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it.
We have heard that is what Brian Higgins' car was that night.
Okay, stop. Sergeant, did you, during the course of your investigation, learn whether or not anybody associated with your investigation had a 2-door Jeep Wrangler with a plow?
Yes.
Who is that?
Mr. Brian Higgins.
Sorry, I am trying. I believe this day, I apologize in advance. This day, the captions on every stream we have found are a little off. So they should be working. Thank you, Mom. Captions are now on.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and play this.
The captions are on. They are not always appearing. This is a good time to say, if you are on replay, crew, turn your captions on for me if you don't already. Because yeah, Court TV's captions were odd. The captions here were odd. Like every stream I've looked at, captions were weird that day. So sorry. Blame it on the moon. We're gonna blame it on the moon.
Okay, stop. Sir, do you see a person who appears to have alighted from the car,
Yes.
from the Jeep? Sergeant, if you could turn your attention to the screen on the right. Does that appear to be the location of the person that you're describing?
That's the individual that came out of the vehicle, yes.
Okay. I know it's super blurry. May not be able to at this point. Do you know who that is?
I do not know.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play.
Most of them aren't talking right now
Did you
anyway.
see the person walk off the screen?
Yes,
Did it appear that that person had something in his or her hands?
possibly, yes.
Okay.
It's so hard not to give the spoilers right now.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Okay.
Jackson's asking for a moment. All right, let me.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could play the second clip on this same GG.
This is the next new video. There is
Before
no
this is played,
sound
Sergeant,
here.
do you
Really.
recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
I do not know.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play this. Stop. What do you see on the video at this point?
An individual crossing the frame with a couple of cars parked, one of which has a plow on it.
Does it look like an exterior video?
Yes,
Does that appear to be an exterior video if you don't know exactly where, an exterior video of Canton PD?
from the facilities, yes.
Okay. And describe the person that you see in the foreground at the bottom of the screen.
Appears to be wearing a black sweatshirt, a hooded sweatshirt.
Larger in stature, smaller in stature, can you tell?
I'd be speculating because there's no comparison, but possibly larger. I don't know.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it.
I have the captions on. I
And
don't
that's it
know
for
why
that.
they aren't
Your Honor, if we
here.
could play the next video.
All the
By the
streams
way, can
had
we agree
problems
before we
with
move off of this,
captions
just
this
for
day.
identification purposes, can we agree to call this rear lot cruiser side as opposed to rear lot main side, just to keep them separate?
Same as last time. I'm not familiar where that camera is, so I cannot argue with you nor adopt.
So yeah, we're gonna go through. We have this video. Speaking of technology issues, everybody in the courtroom finally figured out that this is they can begin on their screen. So we see January 29th, 1:27 a.m. Rear lock cruiser side. I'm skipping ahead because I'm trying to keep to a whole lot of. Did I miss a video? No, I don't think I did. And again, I apologize for the lack of captions.
Is it possible to see from there the time and date?
Yes, the time is 1:27:32 a.m. and the date is 1:29:2022.
Thank you. Okay, if we can move to the third clip.
They are on. I don't know why they're not appearing.
If we could start, Mr. Wolk, by enhancing with the court's permission the time and date, let's just start with that. Do you see what the timestamp designates this camera angle to be?
It appears to be church side, and I can't read the third word there.
Exterior?
Oh, yes, exterior. Sallyport.
Okay, and if you could tell the jurors what you see in terms of the time and date.
The time is 1:27:43 a.m. and the date is 1:29:2022.
Thank you. Mr. Wolk, if you could play that with the court's permission.
Okay.
Stop. Do you see a person in that video?
I do.
Although it's somewhat blurry, can you describe that individual for us, please?
It's Higgins. We all know it's Higgins. Give me a minute, guys. I am going to see if I can't refresh the stream. Where are we at? 3:16:09. All right. Let me see if I can't refresh and see if that brings the captions. If it doesn't, I'm going to just blame the moon. All right, let's see.
I have a specific memory, but I know that they arrived. I have a specific memory, but I know that.
Stop. Okay. Let me see. Which one is this? There we are. All right, let's see. Because I know one of the other streams was also not working for captions. I know that. Almost at the right spot, guys. All right, let's try this again. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna say I don't know how to fix it, and I'm really, really sorry. And if you're watching on replay, turn the captions on your
Individual
end.
wearing dark clothing, possibly. That's the best I could do, really.
Okay. Does it appear, given what you've seen in terms of the time of the main side, cruiser side, and now this exterior church side, does that appear to be the same person moving through on the outside of Kenton PD?
It does, yes.
And what are we looking at here, by the way? What is this door he's about to walk into?
I'd be guessing. I was never present on that side of the Sally Port.
Understood.
I don't know.
Let's go ahead and play this. Okay. And for the final clip.
So we know that Higgins has access to the Sally Port at night and arrives at whatever in the morning.
Date. A little bigger, Mr. Walker, if you could. Can you see what that is designated as, that camera angle?
Yes, it says first floor corridor, and the time is 1:28:03 a.m. on the 29th of January, 2022.
Okay. Is this the corridor version or video that you did have some recollection of?
Yes, this is, yes.
Okay, if we can go ahead and play this.
For all of the blurry videos, this one is so clear.
Do you recognize the person in this video?
It appears to be Mr. Brian Higgins.
Okay, and what is he wearing? Describe it for the jurors.
Black sweatshirt with some sort of logo on the front. It appears to be blue jeans and shoes with a white trim.
And is the hood up or down on the sweatshirt?
It's up.
Okay, let's go ahead.
To all of the attorneys and content creators that I follow, this is normal dude bro outfit, even in a blizzard in Massachusetts. Okay? It is normal. Nothing is out of the ordinary on this. Just
play this.
Please stop making it out of the ordinary. It's not. It's not. It might be weird for you. It is not weird for us. That was a very clear video. Look, it was just magic. They had it the whole time. Just whoopsie doodle hiding.
Of the time as it's paused right here.
I skipped him ahead just a second.
Do you want me to say it again or write it down?
Yes, sir.
The time is 1:28:16 a.m.
Okay, and if we could just continue playing this video.
So this is over, are things motion activated or not?
It is playing.
Because the claim has been that they are motion activated, so we're paying attention to time. Because they do appear to be somewhat motion activated.
1:29:42 a.m.
And if we could go ahead and go forward.
So Brian Higgins comes into Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning. I also want to point out, hang on. I also want to point out Higgins, by any measurement, is also drunk AF at the moment. Now he's been drinking all day and into the evening. That's a spoiler. That's from trial 1, I'm pretty sure. No? We've heard that in testimony. Anyway,
If we could take a look at the time one more time.
drinking all day.
Now it's, let me say it,
Yes, sir.
1:34:12 a.m.
And in the time, just so the record's clear, in the time between you saying 1:28:16 to 1:34:12, 6 minutes has not gone by, correct?
Just under 6, I believe, yeah.
Well, 6 minutes for us in real time.
Oh, in real time, yeah, no.
It is not. So it
Sorry.
appears that the camera jumped, or the time jumped.
The time difference from what was displayed is approximately 6 minutes, yes.
Okay, which is much further than much
Motion
longer than
operated.
the time we've actually been
It's
looking
a-
at the video. Correct.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so it appears that it may be motion activated and it just jumped.
That's a possibility, yes.
Okay,
yes.
let's go ahead and continue playing this. And stop. Do you see someone in the screen now?
Yes.
And one more time, I know this is laborious, one more time if we could clock the time. Can you see that?
No, it's really blurry for me.
There we go.
Yes, now I can see it 1:34:15, if I'm not mistaken. AM.
Okay, fair enough. And let's go ahead and play this all the way through.
There he goes. Oh, wait. Did he have
Who
something
did
in
that
his
appear to
hand?
be walking away from the camera in this shot?
I'm not certain. I would be suspecting or guessing if I gave you an answer, but I'm not certain who that is.
As best you can determine, does he have the same stature? I know you can't see his face. Same stature, same clothing, jeans, shoes with white stripe around it, dark hooded sweatshirt. That you appear to be the same person as Brian Higgins.
It does appear that way, yes.
Okay, is that it? Okay.
Same sweatshirt.
One more clip.
as the waterfall
I'll
video.
ask you to look at on the same GG device.
This is a big deal, and I will leave it with
Okay.
this.
What do you see in this?
With these last videos.
Appears to be the church side sally port, and an individual came out of the door.
Okay, and can we highlight the time, please, or increase the size? What time do you see there?
1:34:40 a.m.
Okay, we can go ahead and play this through. Pause. Does it appear from this video that the person has anything in his hand?
It's a
I'm sorry, can you
blob.
play that again? I wasn't
Jackson.
looking at the
Come
hand,
on.
but
Sure.
Maybe you could suggest that. I appreciate that you're
I
doing
really
a
can't
good job.
tell.
Okay.
It does look like he's holding a phone up to his hand, but
There should be another video.
it also looks like it's
Of the real
B-roll
cruiser
from the
side,
Blair
let's look at
Witch
that.
Project. This, however,
Pause.
is a much clearer video. Did I pause exactly when Jackson said pause? I did. My dude, in trial 1, you claimed this was a butt dial, and that phone is very clearly right up to your face. So you might want to rethink what you were thinking of as a butt dial. Because that phone, that is a phone. That is a phone. Because it's lit up. So, yeah, in trial 1, he claimed this was a butt dial, if I remember correctly. Oh, I don't know. Our butts were just dialing each other. We were just answering and hanging up, but had nothing to do with it. That certainly looks more intentional to me. That's just me. But that it looks more intentional to me that way. So with that, we then also I'm going to embiggen this because that is where I wanted to end tonight because we've been here for almost 2 hours. You guys are the best. I need to let you go. I need to let my amazing parents go to sleep because they are also my mods and they are awesome and I love them so much. And they put up with being my team while I am getting this off the ground. So, we need to end that here because 3 days of, although to my own credit, the girl who loves watching 4 and 5 hour plus long streams, for me to get this done in 2 hours, I mean, I'm gonna pat myself on the back because trust me, there will be a time when we will be hanging out for 4 hours ourselves. But that is not for tonight. So yeah, I wanted to leave with Higgins on his phone, caught on tape that the defense did not have in trial 1. So, um, interesting. Think, yep. There is more. There is an additional video that does show Higgins getting into 3 or 4 different cars out in the lot, getting back into his car and driving off. I don't know what the defense is going to end up doing with this ultimately. But Higgins on his phone, where if you've watched trial 1, we were all like, "What?" He got caught. He got caught. So, will there be court tomorrow? I don't know. You know the chats I will be in if there is court tomorrow. And as for us, oh, I should swoop before I start doing goodbyes and things. I should swoop while I do our little summary. Not that. Swoop. So it has been a wild week plus since we last gathered. 3 days with Bukhenik on the stand. He still insists that the entire thing was that the entire investigation was filled with integrity and honor and all of that. As Dad points out, reasonable doubt is what it's all about. Well done on the rhyme, good sir. And yeah, as of right now, the prosecution hasn't proved its case. Also, they have filed motions trying to bring in Aruba. I don't think it's going to help them. We have entered with this case, I don't, somewhere in the last week, we fully entered. So, okay, flashback to trial 1. Trial 1, Lally seemed to have decided he was going to present the prosecution's case where he managed to figure out as many holes as he could possibly figure out that the defense was going to poke in his case, and he built his case around plugging the holes. That's not a good way for a prosecution to build a case. Honestly, it's just not. I felt the same way about the Murdaugh prosecutors for the first week or so of their case. It's not a good way to build a case. And for the most part, Brennan is like, here's the facts that we have, here's the facts that we are presenting, here's our case. But something flipped. Last week sometime. And all of a sudden, the defense is acting like the prosecution, where they're just presenting their case. Straightforward, here's our case, take it or leave it. And the defense doesn't have to prove anything. They simply have to provide reasonable doubt. They do not have to prove anything. If you were ever on a jury for a criminal case, it's all about reasonable doubt, right? Now, if you get stuck on a particular thing, you can absolutely get stuck on that, and that's what deliberations are for. But it is up to the prosecution to prove it, to say, all the technology told on you, this, that, and the other, and here we are. And what has happened in this case is the defense is like, here's all the evidence we have. What you think? And the prosecution is like, oh, but we didn't mean it that way. And we didn't mean it that way. But it's a really new shift because Brennan really started much more aggressively. Um, and now what is happening is the defense is starting to, I mean, the defense has impeached almost every single witness legitimately with their own words and statements that the prosecution has brought. So it feels like upside down world. The judge gets the two sides confused. The two sides get each other confused because Brennan's used to being a defense attorney. I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. I have no idea if we're going to have court. I have no idea if it's going to be as wild and crazy as the last few days. And I have no idea how I'm going to be feeling. So all of that is to say, I hope that everything will line up perfectly so that we can all gather on Sunday, if not before, um, to chat about the rest of the week and what has gone on and what new evidence has come into play. But I'm also going to take it each day as it gets here. I thank every single one of you for being super patient with me. This has been a challenge and one I am loving. So thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for sticking around for 2 hours. We're easing in to the longer streams, especially during court. Court time, longer time. Politics, shorter. That's court is longer. Politics we need to do in small doses. We'll get back to the state of the world at some point, but right now we're going to follow Karen Reed right through to the end. With that, thank you everybody. If you haven't already, do all the liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. If you've got moments in court, as you're joining me here, if you have moments in court that you want my take on, leave it in the comments. Drop it in there. I had another thought and it disappeared. So that is my cue to say thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and roll the outro in just a moment. You guys are the best. And as always, be well, do good, and remember to bark a lot. Dogs always tell the truth. Bark a lot. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.